we all come from a place that, when we're trying to grow, I was an amateur with nobody knowing who I was, and I like to work with companies that...
They walked into the cage acting untouchable, but within seconds, karma reminded them how fast everything can change. These are the coldest instant regret moments in women's MMA. Some fighters love to act tough until the bell rings and reality steps in, and nothing humbles arrogance faster than a clean punch or a perfectly timed counter. Again and again, we see fighters who mock, shove, talk, and pose only to regret every second of it the moment the fight begins. One of the clearest examples came when Danella Miranda entered a Muay Thai match behaving like the fight was already won. She taunted, she laughed, she postured, and she carried herself as if she had nothing to worry about. Across from her stood Eduarda Maria, calm and patient, knowing arrogance would eventually open doors. When the first round began, Maria's timing immediately took over the fight. Crisp combinations landed with pinpoint accuracy, and her head kick nearly shut Miranda's lights out. Miranda's legs wobbled, her confidence vanished, and her smirk disappeared in an instant. Maria followed with sharp punches, clean hooks, and relentless pressure. By round 2, Miranda could barely keep her footing. Her balance was shattered, her rhythm broken, and her ego lying somewhere on the canvas. Eduarda Maria earned a dominant TKO, and as Miranda's mouthpiece hit the floor, so did the last bit of swagger she walked in with. Another brutal example came from bare-knuckle boxing, where Taylor Starling, known as Killer B, walked into her fight with Christine Faria full of attitude. She played to the cameras, posed with confidence, and acted like she was already the star of the show. The stare down alone was dripping with ego. But once the bell rang, her swagger collapsed. Faria stayed composed, adjusted her timing, and applied ruthless pressure. Starling tried to match her energy but quickly broke apart. Her rhythm vanished, her confidence cracked, and she even tried to quit mid-round. Her corner forced her back in, but it didn't matter. Christine Faria swarmed forward with relentless aggression and finished the fight by TKO. All the posing and posturing disappeared the moment real pressure hit. Sometimes karma arrives even more directly. Jessica Fresh thought she could bully her way through fights when she faced Cynthia Boderberg. She hit after the bell, kicked a grounded opponent, and celebrated a dirty victory like she had done something heroic. But karma never forgets. Her next opponent, Lindsay Wonder Woman Williams, gave her exactly what she deserved. Fresh tried her usual rough tactics, grabbing and twisting for an armbar, but Williams reversed her with ease. She took control, sliced through Fresh's defenses, and locked in a choke so tight that Fresh had no choice but to tap. In seconds, the bully became the one begging for air. Lindsay Williams won by submission, delivering justice cleaner than any referee ever could. Arrogance also showed up during a tense press conference between Gabriela Fandora and Gabriela Alanis. Alanis flashed a throat-slitting gesture as if she had already claimed the belt. She strutted around like she was unstoppable. But when the fight began, everything changed. Fandora boxed with discipline, staying behind a sharp jab, punishing every reckless attack, and controlling the pace for every round. She didn't chase a knockout. She let precision do the job. Alanis slowed down, absorbed more damage, and realized too late that disrespect couldn't save her in the ring. By round 7, the referee stopped the fight. Gabriela Fandora became the undisputed champion, leaving Alanis's ego somewhere in the shadows of her own mistakes. Then came Polish fighter Kamila Smogletka, who talked big all week and mocked her opponent Kamila Branchik's height during the face-off. She strutted into the cage with a smirk, hands low, taunting between strikes. That confidence didn't last long. Branchik took her down, controlled every position, and smothered her with technique. Smogletka struggled, her showboating replaced with panic. By round 3, Branchik took her back and locked in a tight choke that silenced every insult Smogletka had thrown before the fight. The submission was clean, powerful, and poetic. A similar lesson came when Miss Daniela tried to bully influencer fighter Ella Brooke. Daniela mocked her size, shoved her at the face-off, and acted like she was levels above her opponent. But inside the cage, Brooke showed what real skill looks like. She moved with calm pressure, countered perfectly with sharp right hands, and forced Daniela backward round after round. The bully kept fading, her confidence breaking under the weight of precision and timing. By the end, Ella Brooke walked away with a dominant decision win. The bigger voice lost to the better fighter. Sometimes the disrespect goes beyond words. Sofia Hainova crossed an unforgivable line by mocking Siana Shekhnova with dog food, throwing it toward her as an insult before the fight. But all that cruelty turned into regret the moment the fight began. Siana fought with calm focus, landing clean jabs, technical counters, and disciplined combinations. Round after round, she stripped away Hainova's arrogance until all that remained was a fighter who could not match the technique she had mocked. Siana Shekhnova won by dominant decision, leaving no doubt who the real fighter was. Before her major matchup, champion Franchon Cruz de Zorn talked big, calling herself the Juggernaut and promising to steamroll Savannah Marshall. She bragged about her strength, her pressure, and her ability to overwhelm anyone. But when the fight started, Marshall's timing and precision made all the difference. She controlled distance with a slick jab, chipped away at Cruz de Zorn's confidence, and landed clean shots again and again. Cruz tried to bully her way inside, but Marshall's footwork and accuracy shut her out every time. After 10 rounds, the judges delivered a clear, unanimous decision. Savannah Marshall became the undisputed champion, while Cruz de Zorn's pre-fight talk faded into silence. In 2013, during a CFA event, Fallon Fox walked into the cage surrounded by controversy. Her transition from male to female had split the fan base and brought massive attention. She embraced the spotlight confidently, believing she could overpower her opponents. Early in her fight against Ashley Evans-Smith, Fox looked strong, bullying with clinch pressure and heavy shots. But arrogance doesn't last when faced with relentless grit. Evans-Smith used her wrestling, dumped Fox to the mat, and began outworking her. The crowd roared as momentum shifted. By round 3, Evans-Smith secured top position and unleashed a barrage of punches. The referee stepped in, awarding Evans-Smith a TKO victory. Fox entered the cage with confidence, but left humbled by a fighter who simply refused to break. Paige Van Sant tried something similar before her bare-knuckle debut against Britain Hart. She shoved Hart at the face-off, talked loudly, and tried to intimidate her. But once the fight started, Hart remained composed and technical. She slipped punches, landed crisp shots, attacked the body, and never lost rhythm. Van Sant grew frustrated, swinging wildly, even throwing a rabbit punch in desperation. Hart stayed calm and stuck to her plan. After 5 controlled rounds, she won by unanimous decision, proving once again that poise beats chaos every time. Another fighter who learned the consequences of arrogance was Sama Zaga, who mocked her opponent Lilian Rodriguez's height and reach, acting as if she had already won. At the weigh-ins, she struck exaggerated poses and laughed at Lilian, but when the bell rang, the reality became painfully clear. Lilian's boxing was sharper, her timing cleaner, and her patience far more disciplined. Zaga rushed forward with wild swings, but Lilian intercepted her with crisp counters that snapped her head back. By round 2, Zaga's confidence dissolved as she absorbed heavy shots that made her rethink every insult she had thrown earlier. In round 3, Lilian landed a perfectly timed punch that dropped Zaga flat, securing a knockout that erased any question about who the real fighter was. Zaga entered with ego but left with regret. Then came the dramatic case of Ebony Bridges' former rival, who spent weeks before the fight mocking Ebony's appearance, training habits, and overall skill. She posted taunts online, made bold statements during interviews, and acted as though Ebony was beneath her. But the moment the match began, Ebony's composure shined. She kept a tight guard, fired clean jabs, and worked the body with relentless accuracy. Every time the arrogant fighter attacked, Ebony countered with precise power shots. By the later rounds, the bully looked exhausted, her face bruised and swollen. Ebony ended the fight with a dominant decision, proving hard work beats loud words every time. A similar moment of comeuppance came when combative influencer Astrid Wett faced Elle Brooke. Though the two shared a previous rivalry, Astrid arrived at the rematch with even more arrogance than before. She flexed, smirked, and tried to intimidate Brooke. But once the bell rang, Elle Brooke showcased improvement in every area: better footwork, better accuracy, and better discipline. She controlled the fight from start to finish, landing the cleaner, harder punches, while Astrid grew increasingly frustrated. The once cocky fighter ended the match looking beaten and drained, as Brooke celebrated a clear victory that silenced any pre-fight mockery. Sometimes the humiliation is instant, like when a fighter known for taunting stepped into the ring against a composed, quiet opponent. She danced, rolled her eyes, and made fun of her opponent's stance, only to be knocked out by a single counter within seconds. One clean punch ended her performance before it even began. The crowd erupted, shocked at how quickly Karma caught up. One of the most brutal examples came from a regional MMA fight where a tall, muscular fighter mocked her much smaller opponent during weigh-ins, calling her weak and inexperienced. But size does not replace technique. When the fight began, the smaller fighter slipped under a heavy punch, secured a double-leg takedown, and dominated from top position. Less than 2 minutes into the fight, she transitioned to mount and unleashed a barrage of strikes that forced the referee to stop the match. The bully, who mocked her opponent's size, ended up curled on the canvas, hiding from punches instead of delivering them. In boxing, disrespect often shows up in the form of fake confidence. And that's exactly what happened when Mariana Torres faced an undefeated, loud-talking prospect who bragged about knocking her out. But once the fight began, Torres' experience and accuracy were too much. She landed clean jabs, slipped punches effortlessly, and punished every mistake. By round 4, the prospect's breathing grew heavy, and her punches lost power. Torres landed a perfectly placed left hook that sent her crashing to the mat. The knockout was so clean that commentators called it the punch that silenced arrogance. Another viral moment of karma came in Muay Thai, where a fighter taunted her opponent by dancing and putting her hands behind her back during the opening seconds. She giggled as the crowd reacted, but the show ended fast. Her opponent stepped in with a lightning-fast head kick that landed flush. The taunter collapsed instantly, her body going limp. The showboating stopped the moment her consciousness did, leaving the audience in stunned silence before erupting into cheers for the disciplined fighter who ignored the theatrics and focused purely on timing. Arrogance also backfired at a grappling competition when a wrestler mocked her smaller opponent by patting her on the head and smirking at the referee. Once the match began, however, the smaller opponent used flawless technique, slipping behind, securing a rear body lock, and executing a perfect takedown. Within seconds, she locked in a choke that forced the arrogant wrestler to tap rapidly. The crowd cheered, not because the move was rare, but because justice in combat sports feels satisfying. Then there was the fighter who refused to touch gloves, shaking her head aggressively and shouting insults as she circled the cage. Her opponent stayed calm, refusing to react. 10 seconds into the fight, the arrogant fighter lunged forward recklessly. She was met with a counterpunch so clean that she dropped instantly. The referee stopped the fight almost immediately as the overconfident fighter lay stunned, unable to understand how the fight turned so quickly. Even in high-level professional boxing, karma shows up. Before her match with champion Amanda Serrano, one fighter repeatedly called Serrano overrated and promised to expose her. When the fight began, Serrano's world-class combination punching overwhelmed her completely. Serrano battered her with hooks, jabs, and body shots until the referee stepped in to stop the punishment. The trash talker who once screamed into microphones could barely lift her head afterward. A similar fate happened to a kickboxer known for taunting mid-fight. She rolled her eyes, stuck out her tongue, and waved her opponent forward. Moments later, she was hit with a spinning back kick to the liver. Her body shut down instantly, and she crumbled to the canvas, curled in agony. Fans watching the replay commented endlessly on how quickly the arrogance dissolved. Time and time again, fighters who choose ego over discipline find themselves humbled. The ring rewards patience, precision, and respect, not mocking, dancing, or theatrics. The women who entered with arrogance left with harsh lessons written across their bruised faces. And the women they insulted, underestimated, or tried to intimidate, they walked away proving exactly why skill always outlasts ego. This is why combat sports remain one of the purest forms of truth, because no matter how loud a fighter shouts or how confidently they pose, the moment the bell rings, the truth shows up, and karma hits harder than any punch.